replay. There we go, because
Okay.
they want it
So
all.
now we're recording. Now we're recording.
Got
So
it.
yeah. So hello everyone. My name is Dennis. I'm inside of Sub2. I'm one of the leadership team here. I'm going to introduce my leadership team. We have Yolanda. She's the one
guys.
that's the operations and the brains behind it. We have Jeremiah. Jeremiah is somebody who is able to look at a property, evaluate repairs, evaluate different factors. And then we have Mark, and Mark is our underwriting guy. He's the one that actually works with spreadsheets. And Yolanda, I'll give you about 10 seconds or 20 seconds, whatever you want to give your introduction. I'll go to Jeremiah next, and then I'll go to Mark.
Okay, so guys, I don't know how many people got that little sheet that I put together. I just wanted to give people an intro and kind of like some starting information of who we are, what we're trying to do, just like a summary. If you didn't get that, let me know. I'm going to drop that in the chat. We'll also have your emails and things, and we're going to start sending out information to the group as well, including links to resources, like, so you have the links to replays, to start with Privy, like everything that we've been mentioning. We're going to gather those resources. And also, as we go forward, people are going to start asking for proof of funds and things like that. And so that has to be pulled directly from PACE. And you have to be working with us in order for you to be able to, for PACE to let us give you his proof of funds. So I'm going to be like making sure that you have all of that. So if you haven't signed up for our sign up form, we're getting the information in of where you live, where you're trying to invest, what kind of multifamily you're targeting, because like Pace was saying on the first Zoom, are you going for the baby multifamily? Do you want the mid-size? Do you want the large ones? And then, obviously the smaller the deal, the quicker the money, the longer the deal, the more you're in it to like really get it for the big payoff, like Vina was talking about today, where it's like millions of dollars involved, or, so that's where the big money is, but it's more time. So you got to figure out where you want to go and what market, because obviously if people are in Pittsburgh or people are in New Jersey, it's better to squat up with the people who are doing the same thing in the area that you're trying to do it. And then you guys can really get niche down into those markets. And we're here for like resources in the bag. So I'll be scanning the chat for questions. We're going to set up an email that you guys can email questions in as well. We'll be helping you with your deals and all of that. So I'll be pushing out information, but like I said, I'm not the multifamily expert. I have not done it. I have not started to, it's like one of those goals of investing. You want to get into it, but you didn't have time to get into it. Well, Pace is putting it on the table. We have this stuff in the Sub2 library in the back, but I haven't gotten to it, but he's putting it out there for the public and doing this challenge. So, we're all jumping in. So Dennis and Mark and Jeremiah, they have done commercial, they have done multifamily, they have worked on put together deals, the whole 9 yards. So I'm not going to be very loud in the multifamily, instructional of everything. I'm going to be learning just like you guys, but they're going to be the experts. They're going to drop the gems and things. And I have the lower level knowledge about that stuff, but I'm here to facilitate, make sure that people's questions get answered and all of that kind of stuff. So feel free to reach out to all of us, but people have jobs, people have kids. I have businesses that I'm running as well. So we all have different availability. We're going to coordinate for you guys, but also you have to be patient, and then we're going to get back to you. And I'm just going to make sure that everybody's questions get facilitated back and forth as well. So.
Dennis, you're on mute if you're trying to say something.
Dennis, you're muted.
Dennis, you're muted.
Okay, I'm sorry. It is Friday night.
You were dropping gems, and you're
no gems. I was saying how crappy the sound here is. But what I was ultimately saying is that Yolanda is the back end operations. She's going to be basically handling a lot of the logistics. Everyone here, please be aware that to manage this takes a lot. We all got a lot of different businesses besides our personal families that we're involved in as well. So we are definitely committed to helping everybody here out and making sure that we have a process that is going to be followed by each one of you to make sure that there's a flow of you to learn, and also a way that you're going to be able to submit deals. In a minute, but I'm going to go next to Jeremiah. Jeremiah, give the team your introduction.
Yeah, thanks. Well, Yolanda definitely sells herself short because she's got the hardest job of everybody here, coordinating all this stuff. And she's also a transaction coordinator. So, she does get to see a lot of deals. So, if outside of multifamily, if you guys are doing other stuff, she's definitely somebody to connect with as well. For that, if you have deals that you need help with, getting through. So, but anyways, yeah, nice to meet you guys. I will keep my intro. All right, 10 seconds, a little short, Dennis, but I'll keep it at 20 seconds. But so my background is in finance as well. Worked at private equity firms, and now am investing and have several different businesses that I'm involved in. So yeah, so I'm here to be a resource. Boots on the ground, walking through properties, talking to sellers. Mark's going to be the primary underwriter, but I can certainly, jump in and pitch in with that as well. So really just want to be a resource, to you guys as needed. Dennis is great at running the show, and he's a great leader in our local community, and I've certainly enjoyed getting to know him and to work with him. I'm sure you guys will as well. So we're all here to be a resource for you guys, help any way we can, and really help you guys get momentum in any way that we can help you out with that. And that's what we're here for. So
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, Mark, where are you?
Hey everyone, how's it going? Can you guys
Hey.
hear me all right?
Yeah, we can see you. Okay, go ahead.
Name's Mark. Looking forward to working with everybody. Like Dennis said, I'm the numbers guy. I love numbers. I love spreadsheets. I love solving problems, and looking forward to helping you guys with putting any offers together or any deals, and just making the numbers work. I will say my experience is more towards on the residential side, but multifamily is not new to me in concept, but more so in practice. So I'm looking forward to just applying what I know and just working with everybody. We have a great group, a great team. Dennis, Yolanda, and Jeremiah are work with in the time that I've known them. So I'm really excited to do great things with you guys. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Mark. Appreciate my team here. Okay, so my background, I've been in residential real estate. I've been investor, fix and flips I did, and now I'm a commercial broker. So essentially part of that, I was involved in multifamily. I just recently worked on a transaction, a 75 unit in Sealy, Texas. It was a $12.3 million acquisition. We had to raise $5 million, and we had to do a syndication. What I just said potentially throw a lot of you just went over, which is fine. That's kind of like
my head.
that's kind of like the language of the real estate commercial world, right? Besides, and don't worry, I'm gonna slow down after this. But essentially, outside of that, I've also done capital raising for established operators. And in Little Rock, Arkansas, that was 150 units, around 150 units, because they added more units. And also in Fairwell, North Carolina, that was around 55 units. And also I've done some stuff actually in Philadelphia. I have a friend that's a developer. He's developing a lot of parts of the Northeast Philadelphia area and going to Bucks County. So he has stabilized an asset. Back in 2017, I was involved in that as well. So I'm no stranger to multifamily. And in fact, that's my niche. Typically, on a multifamily environment, it's a team sport. So in residential, the ones here that are essentially going out there, wholesaling, evaluating deals, and then find a buyer, technically you could do that all yourself, right? And sometimes you can even do double close, which means that you can find funding to close a deal and to move a deal. In multifamily, that's not the case. It could get very complicated based on what the price tag of a multifamily is. Also, in most cases, a multifamily versus residential, your comping is done based on your sister property or the property down the street that has like-to-like kind of scenario, square footage, bathrooms, updates, and so forth. In the multifamily space, it is all about profit and expenses. That's really where it comes down to. And a lot of times what you see multifamilies, when you are going to and talking to a broker, predominantly you say, I'm looking for value add. Well, what's value add? Value add is predominantly what a BRRRR is in residential. And that means is that you take over a property, a single property, and it's complete distress. So you're getting it HGTV ready by doing the renovation and then selling it at that price. In multifamily, that's no different. You're going to take a property and you're going to take it from neglected repairs, potentially issues that they have with tenants, and clean it all up and get it stabilized where it's now HGTV ready. And that's really the concept of multifamily versus residential. So there are some similarities, but in multifamily space, when you do analysis, I'm up to mute wherever. Everybody, please keep yourself on mute for now so that we don't get too much echo. Thank you. But in multifamily space, there is underwriting, which is how you evaluate if this is going to be an opportunity that's going to cash flow and make sense for investor. Typically, when you're buying these properties, you either buy it for cash flow or appreciation. Class, I'm going to talk about different classes real quick. Class C, and Pace, Pace talked about this if you were on the Elephant Challenge. Class C properties are typically properties that have neglected repairs, poor management, and so forth. Those properties are typically the most desirable ones to purchase. They have lower entry fee, but they require a lot of repairs to stabilize. But you can still buy a property for $1 million and in 3 years have it worth be $3 million. So at $2 million.
Ismar, I'm sorry. We have Ismar, could you mute yourself? We're getting your sound feedback.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I don't hear that. Thank you so much. So I lost my train of thought. No, I'm just kidding. So essentially, in the multifamily space, C-class property is what typically, I think we have to mute some more.
I'm sorry, Dennis. Oh, there we go. Great. Okay.
Let me see if I can mute everybody. Give me
He just
one second.
muted. He just muted. We're good.
Okay, we're good. So in the multifamily space, you also have Class B assets. Those assets, they're a little better than Class C assets, and those are the ones that Pace is going after. They're going to be more expensive. They're still going to have repairs that have to be done, but maybe not as much, and they have better clientele of tenants that are actually paying. You don't have to kick out, so forth and so forth. So there's class properties as well, which means that Class A property is essentially means that it's a brand new property. It's like under five years, I think 5 to 10 years, and then it kind of goes down. So Class C properties, you're looking at 1970 and below, right? Class B is a little newer, between, let's say, 20 years, then Class C is 30 years and Class D is even 40 years plus. I'm telling you this so that, and I know it's a lot, and I'm just kind of telling you about this, is that this is the language that you have to sort of start understanding when you're talking to brokers. You don't necessarily have to have that language when you're talking to sellers or owners, because they're going to be more, depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for the baby multifamily, which is 5 doors to, let's say, 10 or 15 doors, that's going to be mom and pop kind of operation. In fact, they actually might manage it themselves. They might even have a property manager. Sometimes they might, but in most cases they won't. So with them, you don't have to have that language. But if you talk to a commercial broker, they're going to know very quickly what's your experience level in multifamily, because everything that's always discussed is a class, and class relates to an asset, which is that multifamily, or the location, which is also a class. So with that said, let me talk about, I said I was going to talk about quickly about New York. So New York is having a very large chip maker coming in. You can all Google it. That's going to introduce 40,000 jobs. They said about 10,000 and then 30,000 in addition to that, the supporting jobs. So if I was going to buy a multifamily, that to me would be a very great spot, because it's population growth, right? Population growth, people come into the economy. So you don't want to be targeting areas that are low in population or drop in population. A good example would be potentially Reading, Pennsylvania, right? The population in that area is dropping, right? Is dropping. It's not as great. And there's really nothing going on from my understanding. Now, if you go to Allentown, the population there is growing because of the multifamilies that's there. And I would say, whether it's baby multifamily and more larger multifamily, but also what's going on in that area. The market is growing because of the industry. So Lehigh Valley Network, that's a very big industry in the Allentown area. And I would say Allentown surrounding area. There's 2 colleges, there's surrounding airports. So all of those places is bringing the economy to allow to increase rents because people are going to want to live in that area. So just remember, whenever you look for an area, you want to make sure you're looking for population growth. A standard rule is around 50,000. I mean, it really depends what your rule is, right? So essentially, some operators say, I don't want to go anywhere that's lower than 100,000. I don't believe it. I say 50,000 for me, that's okay. Some I've seen even say 30,000. My threshold is 50,000. So either 50,000 that are essentially living in the market, or they're close to the market. So you can be potentially looking at something that is about 10 to 15, 20 minutes away. Like I would say a place like Charlotte. Now I'm going a little bit outside of our area. Charlotte has population of X. And then anything that's within 20 minutes away would still be a good place to invest because you have a direct path to a place where it's very high population. Whenever you get to like an hour or more, and I would say even 40 minutes or more, that's when you want to make sure that the area meets those requirements. Okay, I'm going to stop here, answer any kind of questions. Does anybody have everything that I covered so far?
Dennis, we have a question from the chat. Sylvia Diaz asked a question. She said, so Class A property is based on the age of the property, not the size and age of the property?
Yeah, it's predominantly the age of the property, yes. Not necessarily the size, because the size essentially, and if we're talking about a class-based scenario, it's the age of the property. Yeah, questions?
Dennis, wouldn't it also, and I'm just, it would typically a lot of times it would sort of include the general, like the quality of the overall asset, age, but also maybe location where it's at.
Yeah.
Those different
Well,
things,
hold
but
on.
typically not the size, right? It's not the size, but it's more about the risk profile, right?
Right. So essentially, you can have the property that we were acquiring in Sealy was a Class A property because it was a brand new building, but it was in a Class C+ neighborhood. So you can have a scenario where brand new properties are being built in a less desirable neighborhood that has, potentially more, we would say, depressed economics, right? So that's kind of like where you differentiate the class of the property versus the class of the location. So you can have, mismatch. Any other questions, Yolanda?
Not from the chat.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let me tell you how this challenge is going to work. We want to make sure that we support everyone here, and we want to make sure that at the same point that each one of you find a battle buddy and squad up. So essentially, let me explain the different roles inside of the multifamily space. There is what I call the 4 roles, right? And this is predominantly for what we call syndication or larger purchases. And syndication, really what it is that you basically pay attorneys to develop a fund where you can have people invest into that fund. They cannot invest directly to you. So it's violation of anybody really investing a lot of money to you because it's not regulated, So in the multifamily space, the first role that I always like, and I think a lot of you are going to be fulfilling, is the business developer. It's the person that goes out and finds the property, right? They talk to brokers, they talk to owners, they talk to property management companies. That's the three places that I know. They're looking at the website, Crexi, LoopNet, and of course Privy. They're looking at those places and they're pulling that information. They're having conversations, and they're getting an interest, right? So inside of residential space, there's 4 pillars: price, motivation. I'm gonna forget the other 2. Price, motivation,
Condition.
what is it? Condition. And what's the 4th one?
Timeline.
Timeline. Okay, there you go. So you can assess that with multifamily as well when you talk to an owner. I see that being no different, because if an owner is 70 plus and they're ready to move their property, well, that's the motivation, right? If it's somebody that is an owner and they found out that their boiler is about to blow up and it's going to cost them $50,000 to fix it, and they've been pulling money out of the property for the past 20 years that they own that, that's a motivational seller, right? Or the parking lot is jacked up and so forth. So that is essentially what a business developer does. He goes out and generates the business, which in this case is multifamily asset. By the way, one thing that I will say, I'm okay at looking at not just multifamily, I know it's a multifamily, but storage units, which kind of carry the same concept. So if you come across any storage units, definitely bring that to this team as well. The second one is going to be the business analyzer, right? And that's the individual that goes out and takes a spreadsheet, takes all of the information that was provided from the owner, whether it was on the napkin, whether it was on a spreadsheet predominantly, but sometimes you might get something on a napkin. I heard the story, and it's going to show you what are they collecting as far as rents. And sometimes they might have other things besides rents. They might have other profits like laundry machines. They might have storage units actually on site that they're generating profit from. So that essentially with expenses, right? So taxes, property managers, people not paying, also things like advertising to get new tenants, right? So that's all expenses. Typically, in most stable properties, stable means that they're doing good. You're looking at 50% operational costs, typically. Sometimes you might go a little bit lower, like 45%, but 50% is the standard. So essentially, that second role is going to be the one that's looking at all of the information that was provided and putting a plan together to see if they can potentially figure out a way that this can be sold to an investor group that will invest in it. And the only way they'll invest in it if they see the potential that the money that they invest in is going to grow and give them a nice return, right? So that's role number 2. Role number 3 is raising private capital. In most cases, larger properties, I would say over $1 million. Does anybody have over $1 million right now to spend on the property? If you do, post in the chat right now. Okay. Typically, even if you're a wealthy individual, you would not want to put in $1 million in the property because you can spread it out around your diversification amongst other multiple properties. So you lower down your risk. So if this property doesn't perform, well, yes, that's going to be a problem. At least this property will perform. So typically, even people who have $1 million, they typically will not invest it into that simple deal. So that third role is the one that actually goes out and finds those people, whether they're a credit investor, somebody that have a high net worth, or they're just people that have a 401k that has been in a previous job, which is, I'm getting Everybody still okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you were
froze up
frozen
for
for
a
a
little
minute.
bit there.
Yeah, what was my last comment?
Somewhere in there with, if they have a 401k right before that, you
Right.
froze up.
So that's why I said, when I say unstable, I'm gonna stop. I apologize. I have the worst internet possible. I don't know why. I'm not gonna mention what it is, but it's terrible. So as far as the 401k, you can do what's called a Roth IRA. And that Roth IRA can be moved into self-direct. So if you have friends, family members that just have a Roth sitting around not doing anything, they can technically convert it and then have them invest into real estate and get returns from it. They cannot invest in nothing else besides, well, I mean, that's not true. They can invest in other funds, but we're talking about real estate here. So they can invest in real estate without using any of their personal funds, right? So that's who the money person goes out and finds. They go out and they find those people, they build a relationship with those people, and then they bring that money to the deal. The fourth role is the asset manager role, or we call the hammer. That's the person that goes out, looks at the property, makes sure that he identifies all the repairs, makes sure that he identifies other property managers that will be fit to manage the property, because a lot of times, not all property managers are equal. Some have experience managing multifamily assets. Somebody pretend that they manage multifamily assets. So that's where the asset manager does. So here's the 4 roles I described. Now here's the good news. With this team, 3 of those you don't have to worry about. You don't have to worry about the underwriters. That's what we have marketing team for. You don't have to worry about the asset management. That's what we have Jeremiah here for. You don't have to worry about the private money, because that's predominantly me. I deal a lot with that. And then Yolanda, she's our paperwork person. So she'll be able to help you, whether work with paperwork, put that on the contract and so forth. So working with this team, you basically get 3 of those crossed out. You don't have to worry about that. And essentially what you need to do is that you need to go out and find and catch and bring us the deals. I'll stop there and answer any kind of questions anybody has.
So other than multifamily and storage, are there any other classes or types of commercials that we can go after?
Yeah, I mean, you can go after any commercial. There's warehouses. That's very prudent. And I actually know a group that just bought a warehouse. I think they're like 25 or 45,000 square feet in Georgia. So yeah, there's opportunity for those things.
Okay.
Also, there's retail. There's medical offices. Medical offices are very lucrative as well. So commercial space is vast. And obviously office space, nobody wants to talk about because everybody works from home, right? But that's other asset classes that you can purchase. You can also purchase businesses. So this is a growing role within commercial space, is that they're basically going to a business, they're packaging their books, making sure that it's sellable, and then they go trade it on the market, which is basically selling the business. So that's another function inside of commercial space.
So you think this team can work on that? Because I would envision, with the baby boomers retiring, a lot of those, of course, they're previous owners of multifamilies, but many of those people are potential business owners, right? They want to retire, they want to just get rid of their business, right?
Yeah, I mean, baby boomers, if you watch Bigger Pockets, I forget which episode it was, we're going to have a major crunch about, those businesses. They're going to be essentially either abandoned, transition, but there's a lot of that coming. I don't have specialization in that, but I do have several contacts. One of them is actually in North Jersey, and that's all he does. So I'll be happy to put you in contact with them if you have, whether it's a laundromat or any kind of business, I would say.
Okay. And region-wise, I'm in PA, so I would start in PA, but is there any area that we shouldn't go to?
No,
per se? Okay.
I described the characteristics, right, of what we would essentially, my team would be looking at purchasing, right? So we're going to be essentially either the buyers or we can help you find a buyer for your property. That's really how we see things play out, right? We'll see how things, kind of play out. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
But I want to buy as much properties as I can, preferably creative, but that's kind of as we get into the weeds.
Okay.
Hey,
Because the
ZJ,
more,
yeah, can I add for that? If
Yeah.
you don't need to limit yourself. Like if you like the smaller multifamily, I mean, I'm looking at the Zoom right now and I see probably 4 people at least, and probably more, including myself, who would be active buyers for smaller multifamily as well. And structuring seller finance deals or whatever. So you absolutely can, the focus is what you make it, as Dennis was saying. Like you listen to Pace's Zooms, and obviously he's focused on the very, very large properties. Those are fine to go out as well, but there's also, I would call them more liquid assets, like the 2, 3, 4 unit type of properties that are in extremely high demand, and are certainly, we're happy to help you with those as well. And so you don't need to limit yourself either direction. And as you were saying, if you're going off into other more, I would say even more advanced technical type of classes like retail, or like businesses connected to real estate, those are certainly, there's a lot of opportunity there as well. As Dennis was saying, it starts to get very niche the further out you go, I guess, away from like the more conventional assets. So,
Right.
Yeah.
but there's, like I said, there's a ton of opportunity, and even just in this Zoom right now, there's buyers for those deals, and there's a lot of connections. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I think you should all network in the chat as well, because I really hope that everybody here gets a battle buddy and starts working on a smaller level. You can keep each other motivated, help out each other, so forth. We're here for you. So we're going to have an email that we're going to have created that you're going to be able to email. So essentially the way it works, let's say, for example, you go out there and you find what you call a deal, right? And you're like, oh my God, I got the deal. You'll email this, you will take that documentation and you will send it to the email that we're going to set up, and essentially put your information in, your first name, last name, so we know that's you. It's tagged to you essentially, and then we're going to be analyzing, and we're going to get back to you and tell you what we can help you do with it, whether we're going to purchase it, whether we're going to help you find a cash buyer for it. Because like I said, I have, besides just the EXP network, I'm in several multifamily networks that has lots of investment power. And predominantly they invest in the Southeast states. However, I've been drumming the beat for a long time for Pennsylvania. And actually recently, Bigger Pockets has, and I think whenever Bigger Pockets does stuff, it goes like alarm blaring off, right? And they said the most affordable market in the United States right now is in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So that puts that proximity in a sense that, people do not want to invest in Jersey. If you're anybody that's outside of Jersey, they don't want to invest in Jersey because A, they don't understand the local landscape, and B, they don't understand how to get around the tenant-friendly laws for the tenants, not for the landlord, right? And that's the problem in New Jersey. It is what it is. In South Jersey, I know that we had last year 60,000 cases waiting that were trying to be evicted. It got better, but still, this is where people are more concerned. And I say, if you're going to start out, why start out, going into the wave when you could be on top of the wave? And my team has identified Pennsylvania. Listen, there's no such thing as safe, right? But a better market that you can invest in that doesn't have as strong of laws in place that Jersey has. And I will have to say this, unfortunately, Philadelphia, ties with Jersey policies. They have a lot of local ordinance, and they have a lot of their own regulations. Not to say that we can help you find a cash buyer for Philadelphia. We can definitely do that because there's people still buying in Philadelphia. So it doesn't mean that you're going to be limited to only go to Allentown or these places. It's whatever you feel comfortable. Each one of you should have a copy of Privy, and you could just go in there and start looking. You should have the script that piece posted. You can use that script. You can make up your own script and start dialing. Start building relationships with the owner. It's all about the follow-up. That's the work that we need to have you do, and we can help you with the rest.
So
Right.
on Zoom yesterday, there seems to be a split opinion on going after the brokers or going after the owners. What are your thoughts on that?
So my opinion, here's where it's different than residential, right? And I'm not gonna get into this long story, but I'm gonna try to simplify it. But I might get into a little bit of a story. So when I was in residential real estate, we did have a commercial part in multiple listings, which is the MLS, which is the traditional what you see on Zillow.com, because it links from the MLS, right? And the benefit to realtors is basically, oh, okay, so I go list a house, I really don't have to do much. I just put it up on the MLS, and now I have so many people that see it, right? And that's the residential side of the business. There is a little piece, and up to 4 units, it is still considered residential, right? Now, beyond 4 units, it's classified as a commercial, right? Not to say that people don't still try to squeeze it into the MLS. You could sometimes find that. But predominantly commercial brokers, they're not part of the MLS. And they don't have to pay that extra fee, right? So being an agent, you have to pay a lot of fees. You have to pay the board dues, you have to pay your MLS dues, you have to pay for the key, so forth and so forth. And as a commercial person, you don't have to do any of that because you don't have to join your board, right? And that does save you some money, right? That does save you some money. It's a disadvantage, but it saves you some money. Now, those people that are not part of the board, once they find a property, they still have to sell it, right? So how are they going to sell it if they cannot put it into MLS and then it's viewed by everybody, right? Now, one argument is Crexi and LoopNet, right? That's another place that you can find commercial properties. However, it is very expensive for a commercial person to advertise in those places. So they don't typically do that. Why am I telling you this and everybody else? In a commercial space, whenever you start building a relationship with a commercial broker, you're going to have a property handed to you on a silver platter. Like literally, he's going to say, here you go, right? And I believe that's an advantage, right? Because you don't have to do all of this work that you would have to do with an owner. Because guess what? With the owner, you're not going to get that on the first call. You might even get it on the second call. I mean, statistically. And it might take you a while, consistently follow up to get that information, right? And I would say that if you're trying to get a deal landed right away, you have to go to a broker. The problem is that going to a broker, if you're not speaking the language and you're not really somebody that they see that will quickly respond to them, because I mean, they want to send you an underwriting, they want to send you what's going off memorandum. Like really good teams, operators, 24 hours response. Okay, this is for us. This is not for us. We're going to give you a letter of intent, which is basically an offer. So to answer your question, I feel broker will get you faster to the deal. Talking directly to the seller will get you more cheaper deals because you're basically cutting out the broker. You're not paying their commission and you can negotiate different prices.
Okay. So I think what you're saying is basically the starting point is to build the relationships, right?
Yes, yes.
Essentially, that's what it is.
yes. Did Pace, my team, did Pace provide the commercial list? I was not on today because I had so much activities going on, but did Pace provide a real estate list for sub two students that they can share with not sub two, or what's the process?
He shared it with us. I have not had a chance to check my email, but he said Melissa was going to send it out sometime today, but I haven't checked
Okay.
yet, but I'll check.
Okay. Yeah, so essentially, and then we can share it with non-sub two students, is that correct?
I'm not sure how he said we're supposed to use that, if we're supposed to hand that out or work it together, but I don't know. But you know what? Pace is going to be Zooming tomorrow, so we can
Okay.
ask him how we're using that list.
Okay, sounds great. Okay, that's fine, but essentially,
I'll ask Carly too on the leader
yeah,
Discord.
what I would say that as far as brokers, this is the other problem, right? With brokers, it's going to be more constrained to find them. You have to go to LoopNet, you have to go to Craigslist, you have to start pulling, people's names. It's not as simple when you go to Zillow and there you have a list of realtors just, that you can call on. So it is more complicated, I would say, to find a broker that is in a multifamily space. You can find a commercial person, and the way to do that, the way that I would do that, and the way that I typically do that is I go into Craigslist, I go into LoopNet, and I essentially find properties that they're not a deal, but you know that this person posted it, so I got to just call them up and be like, hey, how are you? My name is Dennis. I am an investor. I'm looking to acquire property. Here's my buy criteria. What you have posted is not for me, but please let me know when you come across something like that. My criteria. And then you have to call them again a week later. I think that with whether you're going to be talking to a broker, whether you're going to be talking to an off-market person, they're both going to take time. It's very unlikely. I'm not going to say not going to happen. That's why I said it's very unlikely that they're going to provide you, a really quick turnaround of something. It could happen. And I would say that typically, if that's what they're providing you, most of the time, it's not a good opportunity.
Makes sense. Yeah. Understood.
So Dana has a question.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi.
Hello. Hey, how are you?
Great, how about yourself?
Good. Thank you. I have a few questions. So can we do wholesale for on-market deals, or it has to be straight off-market deals? Like, so say if we find some, property on LoopNet or Craigslist, is that something we can try to do wholesale, or we have to directly talk to the sellers? And those are the wholesale deal we can do.
You can totally do wholesale with multifamily. It just depends. Just think about it this way, right?
Yeah.
And LoopNet, Craigslist, and compared to, let's say, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, you're going to have probably about 10,000 records for those, residential, and you have like 1,000 for multifamily or even less, right? So what I'm saying is, most of the times, smart folks that have, that have teams in place and stuff like that, they ran through all of that. They do say that most LoopNet leads are where deals go to die. That's what I heard from the industry. However, that's if you watch Grant Cardone, he says no, right? So I'm not Grant Cardone. That's where I'm going to be one day, but I'm not there today, right? And he says that you can find deals there. So it depends. That's all I can find. Typically, if a broker, you got to think about it this way, right? If a broker is having a multifamily property and it's substantial size, he had to do a lot of work to get it to where he developed what's called an offer memorandum. And that costs money of its own, right? And typically that broker in like Market and Schlapp, CBRE, other groups, they
Mhm.
essentially don't allow people that are just entry level to work those deals. So
Mhm.
those people predominantly have access to Grant Cardone, and those are the people that are the Ivy League people that have been doing it for years and years and years. Because typical commercial broker, age-wise, do you know what the average age-wise for a commercial broker?
48. I don't know.
57.
Oh, wow. Wow.
57. So yeah, it's an industry that's aging. And I think with EXP, so here's another thing that EXP is doing that I'm not too happy about it, and I've been talking about this. In residential real estate, you have people that can just go hang up their license and join a brokerage. When you go into a commercial space, you basically have to go through a major interview. You have to come from a certain school. You have to have certain connections and so forth, because it's elevated. With EXP, they're starting to not do that as much. They're still doing it, but they're not doing as much. And I sure hope they don't get to the point that EXP becomes residential, if you know what I mean.
Okay. So I guess if we try to wholesale multifamily, we should just try with direct to seller. We will have better chance than go for those leads that's already listed on the market, or where there is a broker attached to it.
Yeah, don't think that multifamily broker leads are on the market. There's really no market in the commercial space. It's just like how you said it. It's attached to a broker.
Okay, I got it. So, what is your buy box? Because I heard you say you can either buy them or you have buyers to buy them.
What did you say?
What is your buy box?
Oh, my buy box.
Like,
So essentially, I'm looking to start small. I'm okay in certain areas, right? So in Allentown, wider area, Lehigh Valley, I would purchase anything starting 3 doors, but I can close. We can close as my team up to $5 million. That's essentially where I do the cutoff, because that's where we have private money coming in, or we're gonna do a syndication. Now, anything above that, I have a friend that owns 10,000 doors, and he said that he loves Allentown. So if you bring me 1,000 doors, I'm gonna reach out to him. So I definitely have those connections.
Okay.
But it has to be value add, right? It needs to be at least 80% occupied, meaning that no less than 80% occupied. Cannot be in a FEMA classified flood area. It has to be also what I would say not in the D neighborhood. I'm not gonna buy in the war zone. I'm not even gonna buy in the C. I would buy in like a B minus, C plus class. But anything beyond below that, I will not.
So yeah, when we talk about the class, right? I was a little confused. What should you say if the property is pretty run down, but in a good like okay neighborhood? Is that considered like C, B minus? I don't even know if there's B minus, but it's either in a good neighborhood, but in bad shape, or in like unfavorable neighborhood, but in an okay shape.
Yep.
It's like it's like B and C, right?
Yeah, you can have properties have a class and locations have a class. And sometimes you can have a class A property in a class C neighborhood. Why, I don't know, but you have that. Potentially, like I'll give you a good example. Where you at?
Me?
Yeah.
I locate in Delaware. North Wilmington.
So I don't know Delaware, but I know Philadelphia. So Philadelphia, right? Like at one point, Fishtown was Kensington, right?
Yeah, that's true.
At one point,
but now
I remember going there getting, we used to go to the cheesesteak place, Pat's cheesesteak place. We used to go up to Maniac, and from there we would go down and get cheesesteaks down there like at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't know what we're doing back then, but essentially, that's a good example, right? The area
Yeah.
back then, I would say was a Class C area. But once somebody just put like a brand new restaurant in there, you know, they saw the signs that things are gonna improve. Well, that's a Class A asset. Because it's just been brand new built, right? And essentially over
Mhm.
time, Fishtown became, you know, you still have Kensington that it breaks off. And now you
Yeah.
have Fishtown, that's a very lively, nice area. So that would be like an example from a class of a property and a class of location.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I get it. One more question. So
Okay.
Pace was talking about like today in the Zoom, right? In the private Zoom before the Elephant Challenge, he was talking about he just took over a 140 something doors subject to for multifamily. Is that something that can happen in our market? Because you know, I think they are in West Coast mountain time, whatever it is, different air than PA, Delaware, or part of Jersey. So I just wonder if that's possible.
Yeah, so the way that it works, right? So my Texas deal, that was 2% interest only financing for 60% of the debt. So 40% we had to raise, which was about 5 point something million, and 60% of the debt was going to be held by the owner, right? It can happen in any market. And as the rates are going up, that's your negotiating power, right? So with owners, you want to start out with, and I'm going to mess this up, but I'm going to say this. If it's their price, it's your terms. So if they want, 100 million for a property, throw in a number, maybe let's say 10 million for a property, right? You'll say, okay, fine. But you have to give me over 30 years, 0% to get in. And in fact, you give me 50,000, just take it off your hands, right? You can negotiate that, and a lot of times what people kind of misunderstand, and I'll share the secret, is that you never start out with that. You always start out with a cash offer, right? Whether you're going to finance it, whatever you're going to do with it. You start out with the numbers, right? What numbers do you want to get to, right? And then once you got the numbers identified, you kind of go back and say, well, Mr. Seller, what you're trying to sell me for, it doesn't, in a residential space, it's called appraisal. There's some form of appraisal in commercial space as well. But in this case, remember, we're looking at the expenses and profit, right? So you analyze and you say, okay, well, we could be $500,000 off, but with $2 million off, you're asking for this property. Show me how you come into these numbers, right? So then it's on the seller to say to you, oh, these rents are ridiculous. I'll give you an example in Haddonfield. This is actually a very good example. My wife is working with several couples. If anybody knows Haddonfield, it's a very desirable area because there's a train, very expensive area. I call like, I don't know, like Manioc, right? That like a good reference point. And the apartments there, right? They were showing on this website called Rent-A-Meter. That's where you basically go in, you look at properties, how much they rent for. It was showing that a 1.5 bedroom or 2 bedroom were all renting for $1,800. And we know for a fact, my wife actually was about a transaction, they rent for $3,000 a month.
Wow.
Yeah, 3,000. So if you get 2 of those properties, right? You have even a duplex. That's $6,000. That's $6,000 a month that you can have profit, and then you obviously have to subtract your expenses. So something like that, you can potentially justify paying a higher price. Or if they're charging that $2,000 a month, and their pricing essentially comes up to that, you can say, wow, you know what? I have to just slap some paint on here, maybe do some new windows, and I'll be able to take it from a $2,000 a month to $3,000 a month, right? So that's a deal that I can work
Okay,
Did it help?
All right.
Did it help? Did I give you good examples? Are you
Yeah.
familiar? Okay.
Yeah.
With those areas? Okay.
yeah,
Want to make sure that,
Oh.
Yeah.
you know, everybody here, you know, this is not Texas, this is not Florida, you know, everybody here should have some familiarity with Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware area. You know, maybe not specific areas, but general areas, everybody. So that's why I'm referencing places that I've done deals, or my wife has done deals that I've been part of, that I know how, you know, what the local rents is essentially local. And that's what I want to also say, when you're looking at, I know Bigger Pockets has a rent-a-meter kind of scenario where you basically look and see if the rents are essentially are something that's going to make sense, or how much they could be increased. So does rentameter.com. You could do apartmentguide.com, so forth and so forth. And what a lot of times those places don't capture, they look at like at the area as a trend, right? And sometimes it could be misleading because either it could be a lot more expensive or a lot more cheaper than what Rent-A-Meter provides. I don't want to dog those places because I know so many people use them, but I do believe that
Yeah.
for some sort local areas, especially if they're highly priced, they're not on the same page.
okay.
right.
So when that happens, we have to just do our due diligence to figure out what is the real rent there, right? Instead of go to you know, the websites,
You know what
because
the most
we
simplest
want
way?
to get them.
You know what the most simplest way to do that?
Just go to the rental office, ask them.
Yeah,
I don't know.
go to Zillow.com, type in the first realtor and be like, hey, what's the rental? You know, I'm looking to buy a property here. What rents would I be able to
Yeah.
get? You know, it's, you know, be resourceful. That's all I could say.
Yeah, I think that is the best way. Just go to ask the rental office, because I think a lot of people, when we use you know, do individual, I mean single families, that's when if you rent out the single family, besides the owner knows, the landlord knows, you won't be able to find it out. But if there's a you know, apartment complex, we can always call the rental office, right?
Yeah, and
Or,
you can
you know,
call different
surrounding
rental offices
rental
in the
office.
area that are gonna, exactly.
Yeah.
It's actually not called rent, it's called property managers. I mean, they're associated
Yeah.
with the rental you know, process, but they're called property managers. They're managing the property. They're the ones that are going out there and finding your tenants. They're making sure that your tenants are screened. They're not gonna be somebody that's not gonna pay. They handle evictions, they handle repairs. They're called property managers.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all my question for tonight.
Very nice talking to you.
Will be
All right.
Hi,
Who else got a
the same.
question?
Thank you.
I just got a quick question. So we have only two options here. So assign the contract to you guys when we bring a deal, or partner up.
It depends. I mean, we will evaluate each deal independently. Some deals, we might pay you a fee when it closes. If we're wholesaling it, we're going to be essentially paying you a fee if you want us to help you wholesale, right? And we'll talk about, you know, a specific kind of split at the time that the deal comes. Every deal, the thing is that in multifamily, you can't put like a pin on it and say, this is how we're going to do this. It could be done so many different ways. In some cases, you might bring us something, we'll look at it and we'll say, you know what, how you got it under contract is not the right way. We need to go back and negotiate, and maybe we'll help you go back and negotiate with the seller to do some kind of creative deal if we see the opportunity there, you know. So it really depends. I can't really give you like a, you know, this is how much you're gonna get paid on this. We can't do that in multifamily space.
So if the deal work makes sense to you, then let's say like you mentioned before, you can only do up to like 5 million, but you have somebody that can do like 10 million deal. So if the deal works for you, what else we have to bring to the table besides the deal to be a partner on the deal?
Like I said, we'll have to discuss. Every situation can be different. It really depends. If it's a deal, I'll give you an example. If you bring me a deal that's 20 million, and I bring in my partner, essentially the one that said that he will buy in Allentown, that owns lots of doors in Florida, Texas, and so forth. He might say, you know what, I don't want to do nothing with you guys. I just want to pay you an assignment fee and I take over it. He has, I'm not going to talk the person specifically, but I know some groups where they basically have investors that come in they do like a 7-year. So they do what's called a fund. I'm not gonna go into details today, but a fund. And they basically put in their investors, and the investors have to hit a certain threshold of return, and then they're out. They don't need to get dividends. They just want to float their money in and float their money out. Sometimes those kind of take 3 years, and then they say, you know what, we hold it forever, right? It really depends. So I can't really tell you how it's going to work. Every situation is going to be different.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we got 37 people at 10 o'clock. Are you serious? That's amazing. Is everybody having fun?
Yeah,
Dennis, can I jump in real quick and just say, I just put the over in the chat, the email address that you can reach out to us with again. And like Dennis said, you know, there's, as you guys are getting started, as you're making calls, as you're making contacts, like, you know, we're here as a resource for you first, you know, and these deals take a while, you know, as you know, and so we're happy to help. But I would just ask that if you send emails, you know, include your name, include your contact info, and then as Dennis said, or maybe Yolanda said it, but just, you know, have a little patience as far as response times. Like we all got a lot going on, and so absolutely we'll get back to you and you know, and help any way we can. But you know, just have a little bit of patience as well, and we'll get that. So if anyone needs it, that it's in the chat. And Yolanda also posted a what did you post exactly, Yolanda? It's like your contact information, so we can start.
That's the sign up form that we
Yep,
sent out just to make sure that everybody's in there so that we know what city you're in, what size unit you're looking for, where you're trying to invest. If you're a Gator lender, if you're a real estate agent, we want to make sure that we're pairing you up, because if you remember Pace's first Zoom, he was talking about how we should be niching down into smaller groups to work together on a day-by-day basis. So if you're in a different area, you want to have a realtor, you want to have a Gator, you want to have everybody kind of like paired up so that we're in smaller groups, we're working together. If you guys come up with a deal together, bring it to the table. We'll help you from the beginning to the end. So there's trainings on how to use Privy, how to, you know, do the script. We're going to be doing, you know, Zooms where we're doing the same live calling that everybody was doing these past couple of days, but we did one Zoom. I don't know if everybody caught the link when Pace said, put the links in the chat, everybody break out, you know. So Dennis put a link in there. We did break out, we did make calls, but people had jobs and things going on. And so we didn't really do like several more, because to be honest, from the background, that's not how it was supposed to go. We were supposed to start our Zooms next week. So we were gearing up to start up next week and not this week, but you know, it's spontaneous. So we just, you know, went with it. But yeah, if you put your information in the form, we can get the smaller groups going, and then we'll continue to do big Zooms, but then a lot of smaller Zooms can pop off as well. We have multiple people with Zoom links. We can say, hey, you're free. Let's hop on a call. Let's make calls.
Right.
And let's keep it going in action, because Pace is doing this, you know, for the next 30 days. Then we're going to meet again on a challenge basis, but we should be working these next 30 days, right? Getting
Yes.
together, you know, working on this, making calls, making progress, getting more familiar with Privy, getting more practice on the phone. And then next challenge, Pace is going to do the same thing again. And we're going to be like so much better. We're going to be 30 days better than we were today, right? So then we go through the challenge again. Pretty much, we can be doing this for the 60 days that Pace said he's going to do it. And who knows, he could say, hey, I'm going to do it for months more. Because when he started in July, he said, I'm going to do this at least for a year. So, you know, he switched into multifamily. He said he's going to teach us more things. Who knows what those things are? Pace is like a genius. He like moves in the next direction all the time, and you just kind of have to try to keep up. So yeah, we're in it to like work this strategy for the next 30, 60 days and going forward. Dennis does this all the time. Like this is multifamily is his whole thing. And so are, you know, Mark and Jeremiah as well. So, you know, like I said, I'm new to the space. A lot of us are new to the space, but you know, if we want to stick together, squad up, you know, set group goals, you know, what we want to do in the next, you know, year, I mean, honestly, you know, we can take it as far as we want to take it. So next Zoom, maybe we can hear a little bit more from you guys. And also we'll be reviewing the surveys to see what people's interests are and what people have put in there. And then try how we can best address those needs to be a resource for the Northeast, so that no matter what you end up doing, you can still come back here and like join our Zooms at any time, because like I said, there's Zooms, you know, being done all over the place. You have to kind of like select in and say, hey, I like what you guys are doing and I want to join you guys. And so, you know, then we'll get to know each other better. We'll talk more. We'll find out more about you. You know, figure it out from there, you know, work together, squad up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a relationship, not just with the brokers, with the off-market tire landlords, with this team as well here, right? So the people that, you know, that we made sure that we spend time making sure that we did put some stuff in place. There's more stuff that we're going to put in place. And the reality is, you know, there's a lot of things that we don't know, right? And whenever I get into a multifamily deal, so this, my previous one was my fifth or sixth, we'll say sixth. And in that deal, I learned a lot more stuff than I learned in my previous 5 deals before that, right? So what I'm trying to say is that every deal is going to be different. Every opportunity is going to be different, because in real estate, that's the beauty of it. You can do things so many different ways, so many different, you know, creative, bridge loans. Bridge loans, by the way, bridge loans is a short duration of a loan. I don't know if Cravey does this, but I'm going to go on a statement and say that if you can find bridge loans that are coming due for an operator, they're in a lot of trouble. So what bridge loan is basically about 24 to 36 months ago, they found a multifamily, they put their numbers together, they found an investor, and they said, oh, in 36 months, I'm going to refi, the rate will still be low and we'll be fine. And by the time we'll have the property stabilized. Well, guess what? That ain't happening. Right now, you have this situation where you have so many interest rate spikes, right? And they're going to keep going up. Will they go to double digits? Nobody knows. Before I answer any more questions, I want everybody here to turn on their cameras. I'm going to take a picture and post this inside of Sub2 and do one of these. All right, I'll give everybody 10 seconds. Come on, more people turn it on. Come on, more. Come on, some people, Buddy, can you turn on? Terry, Stug. All right, thank you so much. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3, go. And I want to show how much, this is amazing. Thank you so much. All right, so any other questions? How did I do? Did I answer
Great.
everybody's question? I want to make sure that I'm slow enough to where I am not, you know, being a turtle and stuff like that. But I make sure that I provide value, and I hope everybody here keeps coming back, because we're going to do more of these. Now, here's one additional thing that I'm going to comment on. I have a Facebook group. That's my Facebook group. It's a free Facebook group. I just, you know, play around in it and stuff like that. Right now, we recently crossed 1,000 Facebook users. Essentially, I would say 30–40% of those people in there, they're people that are operators, big time investors. They're my Rolodex that I put in there when I first launched it. The other are brand new people from all over the world. We're going to be streaming going forward, and I'm going to actually, once this is done recording, I'm going to post this in that Zoom, in that Facebook group, the Zoom in that Facebook group. And I highly recommend everybody checks it out. You can join, and we're gonna be streaming every time that we do one of these directly into there. So if you're not on the Zoom, or you know, we get to a point where it's too much people, right now we're okay. I have up to 100 people that could come in here. I don't think it's gonna ever happen that we have more than 100 people on the Zoom, but if we ever did, that'll be the place that you can watch. We can watch that Zoom, and you can also watch it if you can join next time that you connect. So I'm gonna go ahead and post it in the chat right now and answer any additional questions that anybody might have.
Dennis, I'll say if you answered everybody's questions on multifamily in a 1 hour Zoom, then there's a problem. Or you're amazing.
Yeah, there's definitely a problem.
There's a lot to learn, man. There's a lot to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So
So what are the next steps is my question.
So the next steps is that, do you have privy?
Yes,
Start looking, start looking. You do have to skip trace them, and then start contacting, or go to Crexi, go to LoopNet,
Yeah.
and contact those brokers there. Another one that you can go is actually CCI. So inside of commercial real estate, like you have the certification. And the certification that you have is called CCIM. I forget what it stands for, so don't ask. But you can technically go into that website and find people that have that certification. Those people, the elite agents, right, in the commercial space. And there's a directory inside of CCIM. You don't have to be a member of that, and you can pull up. You can type in city, from the city, 20 miles, 10 miles, and it'll give you commercial folks. So that's another way. So to answer your question, you got to now start looking for your next opportunity. You can also
And
go
when are we-
into all of the Facebook groups on Facebook and say, hey, my team is looking to acquire our next multifamily deal. Who has what? So
and when are we meeting again as a group soon, or what's the next step for the group meeting?
So
we're
Dennis,
go- go ahead.
we're going to take this data that we're putting in this spreadsheet that we asked you guys to fill out that has where you are, what your availability is, and all of those types of things. We're going to aggregate that together and figure out when's the best time that people are available. I'm hoping that we can do Monday, because Monday is a great time to like kick it off. And we're going to also have to have some during the day for people who are available and have kids and family and dinner at night. And then we're going to have some in the evening for people who have jobs and things that they're busy during the day. So we'll try to figure out a schedule where there's at least one in the evening for those people and one during the day where people say they're available. And then outside of that, inside this group, squad up, when we put you together with people that we know, because you guys might not know who's in Pittsburgh, who's an agent, who's this. We're going to just start sending out information so that you guys can know that, hey, this person is this. And then you guys can squad up. We can put you in groups, but you guys might shift around. You might find other buddies. You might chat with people and find other rapports. So things are going to naturally shift. But when you find your real estate booze, as they say, the partners that feel comfortable, that you like and and you trust, and you want to move forward together, you're in the same groove, then get in your groups. If you don't have a Zoom account, let me know. I can set up Zooms, but I know a lot of people have Zoom accounts or Google Meet. There's a lot of free
Google Meet.
places you can be like, hey, send me a link. You can be on FaceTime and be like, hey, I'm going to make calls. Make calls, and you can buddy up. So we're going to try to figure out who's available when, so that we can be up and taking action, because everybody's schedule is going to be different. So we're going to have general ones for everyone, but also, like they said on the Zooms, there are national Zooms. So we used to be regional when the Elephant Challenge started. They made us national because the coverage and the Zooms, were inconsistent in the regions, and we wanted to make sure it's covered. So if you go to that schedule, and I can get a link to that, if we're not available, jump on the Texas one, jump on the Florida one. Somebody's having a Zoom somewhere, somebody's making calls, learning nuggets and watching and all of that. And also, let me just remind everybody that we just got like 2 days or 3 days now. And then we have one more day of like super packed Zooms from Pace and all the people that got up there and showed us what to do. Literally, you don't even need us to show you what to do. If you watch those videos, rehearse them, like personally, I have to go over them, rehearse them. I have to take, micro notes of like what to do. We've got scripts, so you can take all of that and implement. And so we're here for the questions, not to repeat 100% of what they did. Like, we can review some things and, iron out some kinks and some things you might not understand, but there's so much basic stuff in there of like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Absorb that and make sure you have that, so that like Pace, we don't have to go back and say, oh, here's the link for Privy. Oh, this is, there's some basic stuff that, is there already. So absorb that stuff. So if we're not available, make sure you rewatch that video, and the stuff that you don't understand, the underwriting, the numbers, like whatever it is, go back, rewatch it. So that's what I'll be doing over this weekend, so that I can, they were so dense.
because it's a
Yeah,
lot.
and I had meetings, I had to step out, take phone calls, I missed stuff. So I
Right.
had to get back, and I was creating sheets and responding in Facebook and all of that. So I have to go back myself also and do that. But we're gonna get back together. We're gonna discuss what they did. We're gonna get tips from Dennis and Jeremiah and Mark, and we're all just we're gonna work on it, you know. So
Yeah, I
whoever's
mean-
in, let us know, and we'll work it out.
Yeah, team and everybody here, we're not reinventing the wheel, right? So Pace has provided so much value. What he did do is that, from my understanding, if you don't have a Privy account, you're no longer getting those Zooms. He's not longer streaming to YouTube. So you have to make sure that everybody here, in order to have that information that's beyond that, that's being sent by Benson. And you need a Privy account for that. So you need to go, I don't remember what the website was, start with Pace or something. I forget what the website is, but if you go watch
Start
those.
with privy.com.
Start
I'll
with
be
privy.com.
compiling a spreadsheet of links. It will just be like links to this, links to that, so that you'll
Right.
have everything, including Discord. So if you're not in Discord, I was posting some Discord links here and there. I put one on Facebook. Get on the Pace Morby Discord, because then we can all be in a group chatting, talking. And then you can private message people and all of that on Discord. So there's a Northeast Discord. You're going to meet more people in there as well. So connect up with Discord. I think email Carly, I think is what they said, if you have any difficulties with getting on Discord. But yeah, so Discord is definitely a place where we can squad up and get together and communicate as well. So
And remember, as Yolanda said, that the foundation has been put forward for you by Pace, right? So we're not reinventing anything. We're not doing anything different. He talked about it. We're here to support you. And we're here to sort of be that crutch for you, where essentially you have, you in a multifamily space, you have to build a team. So we're that team that can assist you with those three additional areas that I said. However, you can do more of them yourself. And if you want to do all four of them yourself, you want to find other partners, whatever, you know, more power to you. We're just here. And that's what Pace wants us to be, as sub-2 leaders that stepped up, essentially, is to basically make ourselves available to help out in these areas where you probably will need some more time to develop, to understand, to get better at. And it's no different than having a cash buyer list, right? You can go on Facebook and say, hey, I have a property, so-and-so, and you're gonna have all these people, but most of them are really wholesalers, right? They're gonna try to shop you deal around. So all of these things that, besides acquiring the deal, finding the deal, and that takes a lot of time as well. So please don't think that I'm in any way discounting that. But all those additional people, processes is going to take a lot more time, need specialization, and that's what we can help you out with, and we will help you out. So
I
you're in
just
good
got the
hands.
email for day 3, by the way, guys. So
Okay,
if you didn't get the email for day 3, I'll distribute it. But check your emails. It just popped up. So you should
Okay.
have day 3.
great. So 33 people are still on. What other questions you all have? I will go until my wife calls me, which should be another 15 minutes.
Or
Yeah,
Dennis, it's really kind of late. I don't know if people are like, it's
Oh,
10:30
we
at
got
night.
we got a hand raised. Let's go.
Okay. I'm just
let's
letting
go.
you know,
Yeah, that's fine.
'cause I know
Um,
people have had a long day. All right.
Yeah, absolutely, and I appreciate everybody. T.
Yeah,
Suk.
yes. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for putting this on and talking to us this late at night. I just have a quick question. So when we're out there calling, I can only speak for myself. I'm definitely a newbie. Not afraid to pick up the phone and talk, but when it gets into specifics as to what we're going to be offering them, is there someone that's able to step in and, maybe join another call with that broker to seal the deal, so to speak, or walk them through the different options?
Yeah, no deals are gonna be sealed in the first call. That's
Right.
not gonna happen. It's really having the conversation and getting things like a T12 and a rent roll. And if they don't know what that is, profit and loss statement. If they don't know what that is, how much are you making? How much versus how much are you spending? That's ultimately what you're trying to get information, so that we can start analyzing what deal that is. We have the tools as a commercial broker. I have the tools that I can, once you give me the address, I can basically say, when was it purchased, when was it last traded. The statement means when it was last traded, when was the last time sold. So are you gonna be talking to brokers? Or are you gonna be talking to tire landlords?
No, I've actually pulled a couple properties and they're all with brokers.
Okay, so when you call brokers, you're gonna essentially tell them that your criteria, right? That you're looking for properties in a certain area, certain class that I described. That's what you need to provide to the broker. And they might ask you some questions. You just have to basically try to answer them or say, hey, I'm fairly new to this team. Can I put you in touch with one of my, one of my supervisors, one of my consultants, one of my, account executives, whatever you want to say. My
Okay.
VP,
Partners.
partners, thank you. It's getting late.
Hold on, guys. Breaking news. I'm just now reading this email from Pace, well, the team. And so they're recapping this, but there is a big thing here. So it says, what's next? We'll move the next last Elephant Challenge day to Friday, December 16th at 9 a.m. Arizona time, which is 11 a.m. our time. And we are canceling December 10th meeting. So that means that tomorrow we do not have a Pace Zoom.
Meeting. Okay.
So
Boom. There you
what do
go.
we want to do about that?
Oh,
So I'm glad I read it because, yeah, so, and it says everyone will be invited, action takers or not. In January's Elephant Challenge, we will continue on our multifamily adventure.
Oh, so
So-
he's basically bringing it back to YouTube again. That's what he's doing, right? Essentially next week.
Well, I think that means that everybody's going to get a link to join the Zoom.
Okay.
Like nobody's going to be excluded based off of action taking.
Got it. Which means that whether you're a privy subscriber or not, that's kind of like how I see that
Well,
being.
privy is a requirement, so I can't tell you if it's a privy thing. You probably have to have privy and be on that list, but I think other than that, I think that's the only thing that you would need, because from the history, I don't know when people jumped on the Elephant Challenge, but since July, when he started the thing, his whole thing was, you don't have to buy anything else, just get privy. It's only $100 a month. And so it was a requirement to get privy. You don't get emails sometimes if you don't have privy. So I would say bottom line investment, get privy. I mean, they're showing you all the free ways to get, the leads and the phone numbers and the this and that. Also, I'm going to say this, if you need more on agent strategies, there is a challenge. Jamil is his best friend. So there was a challenge called the Secret Weapon Challenge where they went through privy a lot. And Jamil had like a 4 or 5 day challenge. I think it was August or September. The videos in the challenge are only 2 hours, so they're shorter, and they also go through privy a lot with privy on the screen. So that is a good basic go through privy thing. And it also gives you a lot of talk to agent strategies and things like that are very helpful. So that's, take it or leave it, but that I found that very helpful a month or two ago when I watched that. So let us think about a plan. Because we thought that we were going to have to Zoom for a few hours tomorrow, like maybe 4 hours. So
Yeah.
let us think about it, but I don't know what
We can
people's
meet
availability
tomorrow.
are. But
Yeah,
are
maybe we can-
brokers really available tomorrow? Like it's Saturday, so. I
Brokers
don't-
are available.
Brokers, all multifamily commercial brokers work 9 to 5. That's the difference that I see with
Okay.
residential to commercial. Then I gotta pick up your phone, it's business, right? So
Right.
everybody think of multifamily as a business, because it is. You
Right.
have expenses and you have profit, right? That's really what it is. It's a form of a business.
Yeah.
So I would not call anybody. The only thing that you would do on weekends is go talk to private money. They're around. That's the only thing. Brokers, no, they're not gonna be available.
Okay, so maybe we keep our plan for Monday and just
Yep,
reabsorb,
yep.
because I know I have to watch all the videos again and like reabsorb everything. So that's gonna be my strategy. So yeah, feel free to reach out. I think most of you guys have probably messaged me somehow, like in Facebook or something like that, or in Discord. I know I'm putting stuff in Discord as well.
So I'm gonna stop the recording, Yolanda.
Yeah.